We are now seemingly live to those out there in the world. And then I'm going to hit the podcast button in a bit. And then we will be conducting live video. Boom, boom, boom. We're here. I got to say something because then, like, the first 5 seconds of this goes up as a story for some reason. And it's
Weird.
always me looking around and no one saying anything because we're getting ready. Yeah, there's a lot of like nothing happening. All right. So,
Also, I got your favorite thing here with me.
what is it? Awesome. Dang, I gotta collect that. I really do. When did I hit 10 years? 2016?
Gee, has it been that long? It might be. I only just realized how long freaking that Dragon Ball Super show was on. I was just like,
Yeah,
that,
man.
where did the time go? 2017.
Close, bro. Closing in. We're
So
closing
yeah,
in.
you got like 3 more years until. Actually, it's almost done. So I
10
guess
year
2 more years.
anniversary, baby. We'll be covering it for the 10-year Annie. That is good. I'm having somebody check in on the audio. If we sound good or we sound okay, let me know so I can hit that play button. Talking all about Batman the Caped Crusader. Uh, yeah, bro. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of this Batman stuff is melding together. I just built, well, I helped build in the sense that I stood on the side and talked a lot about Batman the Animated Series during
Right.
a Lego build. The Penguin, 8 episodes, 9 episodes, 8 episodes of that. 10 episodes of this. I'm currently reading the cast run on the 2000 Batgirl run.
Okay.
I'm in love, but I can't find it anywhere. I can't find it
That's
anywhere.
Cassandra.
Yeah,
Okay.
and bro, the craziest thing that I found was that the um the craziest thing that I found was that the very first Batgirl series is not Barbara. Ever.
It is not.
It's Cassandra, and that's feels blasphemous. But
In fact, one of the cool jokes was how long it took Barbara to get her own solo, and it wasn't until the New 52.
yeah, eventually. I am ready to get it started on the podcast, so let's go in 3, 2, 1.
Recording in progress.
Hello, everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, that means you could only be here for one reason, and it's a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you each and every week by ComicBookClique.com. And as always, I am never alone. Sir, if you could please introduce yourself.
I am the darkness upon the darkness, Gregory Thomas, aka GT Rebirth.
That makes us twin brother darkness. With twin brother
Darkness.
with twin brother darkness. GT Rebirth rounds out this dynamic duo as we talk all things Batman Cape Crusader. There's so much Batman out right now, bro. Everyone's talking about Batman. It seems like everyone's always talking about
Hmm.
Batman, to be honest. And we were given a gift in terms of this television show. I had to put it on the back burner. August was a crazy month with everything that we were
Mm.
covering. And I'm not gonna lie, I got a little bit of FOMO as everybody was watching this, covering it, putting stuff out, and I had no idea what the heck was going on. Were you able to watch it while everybody else was watching it for the first time, or was it something that
No,
you had to
I
catch up?
actually, I actually only watched it for the first time quite recently,
Oh, very, very
as in
recently.
within the last 48 hours.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Um, Doing the homework up front. Batman Cape Crusader is an animated series on Amazon Prime Video, premiering August 1st of 2024. Developed by Bruce Timm and produced by Bad Robot Productions, DC Entertainment, and others, it reimagines Batman's early crime-fighting years in Gotham with a noir-inspired style. Starring Hamish Linklater as Batman, the show explores themes of corruption and crime, drawing influence from the 1940s and 60s Batman stories. First announced in May 2021, it has been praised for its mature tone, serialized storytelling, and psychological depth. Now, the big thing about this series was
Mm.
that it was going to be a continuation of the creative team of the one of the most
Vaunted,
one of the most
pedestaled,
is it hallowed um
heralded.
heralded well regarded animated series of all time, Batman the animated series. I think I kind of went into this with the wrong mindset. I think I was looking for a little bit more of that, and that made the
Okay.
first viewing of this a little jarring. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people kind of felt that way, given some of the reaction that I've seen to this series. But on rewatch for notes, one of the things I found interesting was I get the feeling very much so like this was like the Batman Begins of this universe, in the sense that
Mm.
it's setting all the groundwork up so we can kind of yada yada past it in season 2 and get to kind of more chunkier stories and characters. Um,
Right.
but I was entertained throughout. I don't necessarily know if I was blown away, but there was definitely some episodes where I was like, "This is a bit darker than I'm used to," with some of the characters and character developments. With Batman: The Caped Crusader, spoiler free. How did you feel about this series? Were you a huge Batman the Animated Series fan, and where do you think this ranks in comparison?
Uh, so I think Batman the Animated Series is kind of like the show upon which all Batman works are judged, at least on an animated scale.
Yeah.
So that's like that's definitely up top there. Actually, to be fair, I've consumed very little animated Batman other than that series. Like I've seen a bunch of the movies,
Yes. Yeah.
but
That's fair.
like I never watched the Batman or Batman Brave and the Bold or like what was the other? There was another like Batman series that came out that.
Beware the Batman.
Yes, that was the
I'm
3D
like,
one, right?
am I making something up?
I think Beware the Batman was the 3D one. Yeah,
I'm gonna check. I'm gonna double check. One of
it
them
looked
had
kind of
Katana in
reboot.
it.
It looked kind of reboot-ish.
Yes, Beware the Batman is the one with the skinny ears, CGI. That's the one with Katana in it,
Okay.
and Professor Pig is like a recurring villain in it.
Yeah, I've
Um,
never seen a single frame of that show. Uh, so like everything I've understood about the cartoon has always been the integrated DCAU stuff. You know, like everything that from Batman the Animated Series that leads into the Justice League stuff, if you want to count that as a separate show.
okay,
You know, same Batman, separate show. Technically, you know how it is.
yeah. This has
Um,
even less supporting characters in this than in that. How do you feel about
yeah,
this?
yeah. Other than that, like I enjoyed the show. It was interesting at times where like I didn't expect it to be Batman the Animated Series, but there were times where the art style made me wonder which one I was watching.
Yeah, yeah, I can see
There,
that.
there, there are just there are like there's the art style and certain establishing shots that are just so Bruce Timm esque that
Right.
it's just like it gives off a lot of the same aura or whatever you'd call it. Like it looks like the same show sometimes,
Yeah,
even if it isn't written that way.
definitely. This is not like X-Men 97, which is meant to
Yeah,
be a continuation, right? And thus it is just following behind the footsteps already laid by the original series. I really
correct.
think that if this does get a second season, and I'm not 100% sure if it was greenlit or not, that it could be really interesting. But one of the things that I found interesting about how they tackled this season is, for the most part, Batman's early adventures are always depicted the same way. It's mobsters, and then past the mobsters, we'll eventually get to the more fantastical villains, right?
Yes,
But Batman the
it
Animated
is it
Series,
is the descent of Gotham from like mob street crime into madness.
yeah, you say descent, but I just think it's the ascension of theatrics. Everyone gets really show busy,
Yeah.
and then like, hey, uh,
Somebody in the costume shop is making a lot of money.
I mean, I like that they literally kind of do a bit of that with Catwoman in this, right? Where she's like, "Well, I'll have a cat car. Like, you got a pet car, I'll have a cat car," kind of stuff.
That
So
one was about the branding.
yeah. But the very first episode of Batman the Animated Series is on Leather Wings, and that is the Kirk Langstrom Man Bat episode, and
Yeah.
which is a bit of the fantastical. And in this, we have a straight up ghost. A bit of the fantastical there. I guess the question I want to ask is, how do you like? Do you like those two worlds melding, or should Batman be more in the? Because I don't see a ghost popping up in the Matt Reeves Batman universe. I don't see a ghost pop. I don't see a man bat showing up in the Nolan trilogy, right?
Yeah.
And those are the things that people seemingly hold in high regard. Do you think there's room in that world for the more fantastical, the more magical, or do you think Batman should stay more in the tried and true noir detective, straight lace kind of thing?
I've you know what? I've never really been super. I'm not super opposed to it. Granted, yes, my favorite Batman is always just like the murder mystery detective kind of straight laced thing. The the way it's handled in like Dark Knight and Begins is sort of my favorite stuff with Batman. It was just uh the typical sort of PI investigating and questioning and peering into the dark corners to find all the clues.
Yeah,
Like that's my favorite kind of thing. I get a little weird with like Batman punching Apocalypse in the face.
it can get kind of. I agree with you there. When you're what is it? Jorge Jimenez, love you, bro. Falling from the moon or whatever, wherever he did, all the way down to the ground.
Yeah.
That was a bit much. That was a bit
Yeah,
much.
and actually, you know what's funny? That's the veer too far off. But have you noticed that there's like this weird backlash against that scene in the new Captain America trailer where Sam like lands,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're just like, "That's a normal dude. Why is he not shattered into 1,000 pieces?"
If it's a scene I talking about, it looks like his ankle's not great when he lands, and I would see him like trying to grin and bear it, like smile, like "Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody," and then as soon as everybody looks away, ow, ow.
Ah, starts doing the Peter Griffin things.
Right.
Ah.
Yeah.
But I just yeah. Typically, I prefer him to be more of a straight lace like detective kind of noir story, but I think you can get a little weird. I think there are acceptable levels of weirdness. I think a man turning himself into a bat because he did a stupid. Okay, this is the best way I can put it. I think a guy turning himself into a man bat because he did a stupid experiment isn't any dumber than uh the doctor that turns himself into a lizard on Spider-Man. And I think if it's acceptable for that, it's kind of acceptable for Batman.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you would be more akin to like more sci-fi than like
Yes.
straight up magical amulets and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I mean, because we got Raish, but we never got a pit that resurrects the dead.
Yeah, not literally.
No, and so I was it was interesting how they managed to play both sides in this, because we did have like certain people with magic powers, some certain metahumans in this that like that's way out of Batman's league, and then
Yeah.
and then we have like the regular mobsters in this. Um, One of the things I thought this was kind of missing, and maybe it's just me, maybe I'm just soulless. I felt like there wasn't any humor in this.
No, not really.
Is that
Not
something that just
not in
speaks to like a child's show, or like like was I expecting something that shouldn't?
um I guess there's like I think it speaks to some stuff that's going on in the show. There is very little familiarity between anybody going on other than the business or the acquaintance word that I just made up. Um, like there are people working together, but very few people are friendly.
Yeah, not even Alfred and
So
Batman are friendly in this. They're not even
yeah,
chums.
yeah. There's a very different relationship being depicted between Alfred and Batman in this one. So like, I guess there's just nobody to quip with, and they didn't decide to make anybody just that kind of witty, goofy character.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Not even the one that people would expect to be.
right. And I think that this is I think this is a great first outing, but I'm leaving more anticipation for season two. I'm hoping that they kind of find their footing with this because there's a lot of this that I like. But I'm also a sucker for the Harvey Dent story. Ever since like I connected the dots between the Dark Knight and Long Halloween, and just this
Sure.
the metaphor of the battle for Harvey Dent's soul is something I think is not only interesting, but says a lot about Gotham and also says a lot about Batman. And them they're just kind of doing it their way in this. And I thought that was really, really interesting. So I was down for that. There's a bunch of changes to well known characters.
hmm
That almost immediately give you the feeling that we're not, in Kansas anymore with Batman
No.
the Animated Series. But I don't think any of it was too jarring to not enjoy. None of the changes.
No, I don't think any of it was bad. In some cases, I think some of them were like welcome.
Yeah.
Who would I say? I guess without getting spoiled, I think I liked.
I got one. Before we get on the praise, I got one that I was kind of disappointed in, and I'm not even all that mad, but I was just like, damn. Bullock, Harvey Bullock, being dirty.
Okay.
Dirty
so
Bullock, man. That breaks my heart.
I sent. So okay, I guess we're just going into it.
Sure.
I sent this to Yogi the moment it happened. I was like, oh no, they actually made Bullock dirty.
Yeah.
I always found Bullock interesting as like writing the line.
Yeah, he's the dirtiest clean cop in the GCPD.
Yeah. Gotham did a great job of that. So did the animated series. It's just like Bullock was always a character that isn't afraid to do the rough things, but never quite goes too far and it becomes corrupted.
My charm with that character is that he never had a love, like he never gets this love affair for Batman that other people do. He doesn't care much for him. Like something about him, something about that makes me like him more.
Sure. Which is weird too, because like Bullock and Batman probably have more in common than Batman and Gordon do.
I can see that.
Because how straight-laced Gordon is, and Batman being the guy on the other side of the line, Bullock's towing of the line is probably closer to Batman's like actual place in society than Gordon's is.
Gordon's biggest thing is his cigarettes.
That's it.
It's smoking cigarettes. That's his biggest like crime.
But maybe that's it. Maybe Bullock just likes Batman because he can do those things and he doesn't get to. Like maybe there's an animosity there about how like Bullock has allowed himself to be trapped behind these lines, and Batman gets to essentially commit criminal acts for the good of the city and gets away with it.
Yeah, I could also see a world in which if you've already given up, watching somebody keep trying has to be kind of frustrating. It's almost in your best interest to discourage them. Because what if they prove you right at the end of the day? What if they do keep fighting and there is some good to be had? Then you've been wasting your time.
What does that make me?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So I that's the only one that kind of I was like, man, I gotta get used to the fact that like it's not whether or not Bullock is dirty. Bullock is dirty.
Yeah.
But which character changes worked for you?
I actually liked the whole Harley Quinn choice.
Same.
I thought it was interesting to see an evil Harley Quinn, who is evil of upon her own agency.
Yeah.
But also is not like they don't make her Joker evil because they make it clear that Harleen Quinzel has attachments and actually has people she cares for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's like,
I like their little quasi birds of prey thing that they were kind of doing there. Kind of like
I guess they were.
I was digging the little girls.
I didn't even put that together, but that makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that worked. Especially considering the frustration I've had in general with the character because I feel like the Joker story is the big story. Once we're past that
Right.
story, loads of writers have seemingly just been trying to dribble the ball, and we've not really gone anywhere. At least this was
Right.
something different, and I like the idea of her having power. She's almost like a little bit of a Hugo Strange, and she worked under Dr. Crane, Jonathan Crane. So there's a little bit
Yes.
of even of that there, of like a. She came more across to me as a kid with a magnifying glass than
Mm,
someone who enjoyed the torture of, for the sake of torture. It was more
yeah.
like, oh, this is interesting. You guys are bad people, and I can make you guys do, all kinds of things. That
I feel
seems
like the
really
worst thing that
interesting.
happened to Harley Quinn was just like somebody decided that once it got popular, that Harley Quinn was their version of Deadpool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like the books just became antics.
Not only that, she's like indestructible, like a
Yeah,
super gymnast that's indestructible now. And she all she has is a baseball bat, and they keep putting her on these super teams.
yeah. So it's like it's weird. I kind of thought the whole Suicide Squad thing worked.
Yeah,
And to a degree, maybe the whole like not Birds of Prey, but the Sirens thing could work.
I can see that. Yeah,
But like most of the time, yeah, she's got this Deadpool thing now because like she's the goofy, funny character. And if that's making money, why isn't this one? Shouldn't this be making money that way? And it's like, it's not
you know what's
quite how it works.
yeah, what's super interesting about this portrayal of Harley to me is that she is like playfully and bubbly as Harleen, and then when she
Yes.
becomes Harley, she's like almost kind of creepy, very stoic,
Yeah.
very almost like the calm therapist in that moment, and it's just really really freaky. Um,
Which
I
is, by the way, like she's the closest one you get to like being jokey because she just has
yes,
these silly little like fun quips
I think that's kind
that
of
she
what
uses with her victims.
endeared me to that character is again like
Okay.
somebody just being a little bit having a little bit of fun. Everyone's so miserable in this, but as you should be. It's Gotham. Gotham on
Yeah.
a Tuesday. Like of course everyone's miserable. I have some truncated episode breakdowns that we can go through. I want to hear which one of these episodes are your favorites. I have a couple of really really good ones in here that I dug. And yeah, we'll just chop it through, go episode by episode, and give these people what they want, which is a Batman Caped Crusader season 1 recap and review. So
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you guys are ready, if you guys have never seen this series, I suggest go watch it. It's on Amazon Prime Video. Um, and we're gonna start with episode 1 in Treacherous Waters. So in our very first episode of this series, we get the lay of the land in Gotham. Bruce Wayne, played by Hamish Linklater, is in his early days of crime fighting and has a massive distrust of the system given Gotham's corruption. Hamish Linklater was reportedly obsessed with Batman the Animated Series and Kevin Conroy, who starred in it as Batman. He goes on to say, and I think even though when I was making my audition tape, I certainly wasn't trying to copy him, but those vibrations were there, that sound in my head, and that was, I think, probably what I was pursuing. What do you think of
Mm.
old Hamish as Bats?
The biggest compliment I can give him is I didn't hear him once in the entire show.
Fair, fair. Yeah,
At no point did I think, oh yes, that sounds like that actor I saw in The Big Short. No, no, it was just whatever voice he was putting on. That voice was Batman. I could definitely hear some of the other actors, and maybe that's just because I have more familiarity with them. Christina Ricci for one,
yeah.
but um, he never seemed to bleed through Batman. It just always seemed to be Batman, and that's probably one of the bigger compliments you could have as a voice actor.
I agree. I think that I don't know if he had as versatility switching back and forth. I don't know if I found um that as jarring, but I, as he said, I think he is kind of at least paying homage to Conroy.
Yes.
It's very much that
Uh,
there.
he's definitely portraying them the same way in the sense of like Bruce Bruce has the lighter tone
Yeah.
the lighter tone of voice and the way he sort of upticks his personality and his octaves, and when he's Batman, here's the one thing I think he does right. When he's alone with Alfred as Bruce, he brings the voice back down,
Yeah.
which is the thing that like I feel like other places haven't always done that can harp on me. Like it's the idea that the Batman voice is Bruce's real voice
Right.
and the public one is fake.
Yeah. Or at least like the time for business, like you know what I'm saying, like no nonsense, which is
Yeah,
what Bruce is majority of the time that he's not playing billionaire,
you're right.
not playing socialite. Um, I love at one point Hardy like says that he's like a cardboard cutout of a man or whatever. Like he has no real life, he has no real like aspirations or whatever. I thought that was funny. Using his detective skills, Batman has deduced that there is a new crime boss in Gotham. Said crime boss is revealed to be Oswalda Cobblepot, played by Minnie
Mm.
Driver, who runs the Iceberg Lounge and has earned the name Penguin. Cobblepot is making waves in Gotham's criminal world, and she's actively trying to take out her rival, mob boss Rupert Thorne, played by Cedric Yarborough. I love Rupert Thorne. I guess because I just love the old animated series, and I've never seen him pop up in anything else but this. So when he popped back up in this, I was like, yeah, hell yeah, they've got to take down Thorne. It's always Thorne. It's always Thorne and Daggett. It's those two guys all the time. She outright tries to kill Thorne, but he manages to survive thanks to a leak in Oswalda's own circle. Thinking her youngest son Aaron is the traitor, Oswalda kills him. However, it turns out that it's actually her oldest son Ronald who betrayed her and is working for Thorne. Frantically contacts Thorne for help, but Thorne denounces their arrangement. That was pretty funny. He's like, "Oh my God, they're coming to kill me!" He's like, "This is a wrong number, sir. Like, I don't know who this is. You've called the wrong number." So I like that. He's the oldest son. Fearing for his life, Ronald goes to the Gotham City Police Commissioner Jim Gordon for protection. Through the episode, we meet Harvey Dent, played by Diedrich Bader, who also played Batman. I believe, Raven the Bolt.
Yes,
Um,
they shared a chin in that series.
Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent is pragmatic, to say the least. The series.
Mm.
How do you feel about the Gray Knight Harvey Dent in this? He is not a White Knight in this. He is not squeaky clean. He is not, the goody two shoes he's been portrayed in other instances. What do you think about this portrayal of Harvey Dent?
I enjoy it. I think I've always liked. I guess even if you could paint it as incredibly obvious, like I think I've always appreciated the idea that that the darkness was always there next to the ruining of the Golden Child.
Yeah.
Because as much as I love, like I adore Dark Knight. Dark Knight kind of gives you the ruination of the Golden Child of Harvey Dent, which I think that points to why he's blonde in that movie, right?
That could, yeah.
You know, so which is great in a way, but it's also like it's a very extreme jump. Like he had an extremely bad day and makes an extreme change in personality. I do always like playing it like that part of him was always there.
Yeah.
And that it just got like it's almost like the accident splits his personality in two and then creates two very extremes.
Yeah, I can see that.
So the idea that he's not a very good person works for me.
It works for me too, and I think obviously the Nolan personification of that character was meant to be tragic. Where
yes.
This one there's a tragedy, but it's more so Harvey facing the kind of person he's been, the kind of ties he's made, the bed he's made theoretically, right?
Right.
In this,
and his denial of it.
Yes. His delusion that he's maintained as clean as he can. And it's not the case. Not even close to being the case.
The idea that the whole scene. He has a line where he's just like, I don't deserve this. No, other.
Yes, yeah, right, yeah.
The children are wrong.
But then it turns around, right? When they're trying to like get him released, and he's like, no other criminal would get released, based on what I did. I don't deserve
Yeah.
special treatment kind of stuff, and shows that full circle. He's running for mayor. Very familiar storyline that we've dealt with in the past.
Indeed.
And we meet Barbara Gordon, played by Crystal Joy Brown, a straight-laced lawyer, and the daughter of Jim Gordon. Both are black in this. I think this series takes a lot from the Batman, but I also think it takes a lot from the Nolan trilogy, as the original Batman the Animated Series took a lot from the Burton films.
Which, by the way, let me jump in there. Because this was the first time I saw it, very interesting episode to watch after you just watched several weeks of the Penguin.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And yeah, because that was Oswald.
Right, that's like a more different version of that character.
Yes. So one of the things that made me scratch my head, and maybe I just have bad memory, there weren't a lot of minorities in the Batman the Animated Series show, right?
Not a ton. I think, does Lucius pop up at one point? I think Lucius does.
Maybe. Yeah. Do you have any big major issues, qualms with race swapping Barbara and Jim here in this way?
Not at all. It doesn't really matter. My points have always really been unless there is something integral to their character makeup that ties them to a certain background, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I love the what do you call them? Straw man arguments. I love the terrible arguments that it's just well, what if you change T'Challa? I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. He is African. He's an African-born king. That's stupid. Don't be stupid. Stop being stupid.
Right. You're being obtuse on purpose. You got characters like you're talking about with Gordon. Gordon's one of his things that people know about him is that he used to work in Chicago. If anything, this makes more sense.
Right. There are better examples of that. If you said what if we change Steel to a Puerto Rican dude? That's fine. I don't really care.
Yeah, I don't really change it. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I think that these characters work. And if you have a problem with Barbara Gordon being black, screw you, because you already took away my Dominican Barbara Gordon, and that was unfair. So now you're just gonna have to deal with this, and that's just what it is. I almost walked away from this with a more of I felt closer to Barbara than I did Jim in this series.
Okay.
And I wonder
if they're a lot more time with her.
I'm wondering if they're gearing up for a transition. By the time this series ended, I was like, I'd be totally down for Commissioner Barbara Gordon.
That makes sense too. Yeah. They're definitely spending a lot more time with Barbara, as if they're building Barbara toward a certain direction. I can't remember. Is Jim? Yes, Jim is already commissioner in this series, right?
Yeah, which is also different than most stories. When they start this off, he's a detective that will eventually become commissioner.
Yes. I did think it's interesting. I guess if we just want to get into it here, Barbara susses him out real fast.
Then?
No. Our boy.
Oh, Batman?
Yes.
Yeah, she does.
So I wonder if that's one of those things. She's almost written to be Drake-esque in that moment.
Right. She's like, that car only comes from one lane every time it shows up. And that road leads to Wayne Manor. I don't know. It just seems a little weird. I get it.
She's like, oh yeah, I met Batman today. What? Oh shit.
And those people just end up being more endearing to the audience, right? Because it's like, come on, put the clues together. It's just not, it's not, ridiculously hard.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you expect the smart people to be smart, so they kind of have to figure out the obvious thing, the seemingly obvious things. It's weird that way.
Yes. Yeah.
On one level, you're just like, these things shouldn't be obvious, or everyone should know. But I don't know.
No, I get it.
It's the same joke, I guess, you get with how is Lois such a great reporter and she hasn't sussed out that the man she's sleeping with?
Yes. It's and it goes back to the whole Gordon of it all. How smart is Gordon? Gordon's been working with this guy for so long. If he doesn't know, how good of a commissioner can he be?
Which is why you always have that built-in back door of I've always.
Yeah, I dig that. I've always dug that as well. So speaking of Jim, with the help of Jim's daughter Barbara and the mysterious vigilante known as Batman, Ronald eventually makes his way to the police station safely. But thanks to a tip from Flask and Bullock, I'm like, damn, Oswalda isn't far behind. She has an umbrella gun on top of the iceberg lounge. This is like 60s Batman.
Cannon.
Yeah, this is like 60s Batman written large. I love it. I love how ridiculous it is. And she launches a missile aimed at the station. Thankfully, the station has been evacuated before the strike. No one is harmed. After a hand-to-hand confrontation, Batman manages to capture Oswalda. She is sent away. Later, Bruce realizes in doing so, he's left a power vacuum in Gotham's criminal world, one that Thorne will be more than happy to fill. I feel like that kind of sets the stage for the series, as it kind of becomes a Batman trying to wrestle Gotham away from Thorne, and Thorne using his money, his assets, and his people, kind of keep his thumb right on top of this boiling pot that is Gotham.
Yeah.
So, in the next one, and be a villain. This is one of my favorite episodes. This first one, I was like, I kind of dig it. The second one, I was like, this is, I don't know why, this is my jam. But Detective Renee Montoya from the GCPD is tasked with finding a missing actress, Yvonne Francis. After a failed attempt to get answers from Bruce Wayne, she digs into the film studio where Francis works and discovers that actor Basil Carlo may have been lying about his alibi. Before she can confront her suspicions, Carlo is seemingly murdered. Montoya's investigation reveals that Carlo had been ashamed of his appearance, which led him to being typecast in certain roles and even rejected by Francis when he made romantic advances. In a desperate move, he used an experimental serum to make his face more malleable. Montoya teams up with Batman, and together they track down Carlo, who faked his own death and kidnapped Francis, hoping to finally live out his dreams of playing a real villain. Montoya rescues Francis, but Batman takes down Carlo and disappears before Montoya can catch him. I think it was just the simple mystery of this that intrigued me. You know, finding the guy, we think we got him, he's dead. Now we're going to some other guy. The trickling of the details of like, oh well, yeah, they work together. Oh well, yeah, he gets typecasted. Bro, listen. By the way, if you are listening, Basil, there's this man. His name is Steve Buscemi, right? And he's had a terrific career. He's been absolutely fine.
One time, he even got this show called Boardwalk Empire, and it was his.
Yes. Charlie Cox was the disfigured man in that. That's funny.
Yes, I always forget that he's in that.
Yeah.
To be fair, I only caught like the first 2 seasons, and I fell off. And then like, I'm like you in some stances. Like once I kind of fall off the train, I never really get back on.
Really hard. You got to run really fast to get back on.
I got to get back on that ride one day.
I hear it's worth it.
Yeah. Thankfully, I fell off early enough that I can start over from the beginning and not feel like I'm spinning my wheels.
Yeah, that's way better than like getting halfway through and being like, I don't remember anything. I'm gonna have to go right back over the halfway point. In this though, I had this on in the background. And I was doing something, and I'm like, Jonah Hex? Why is Jonah Hex here? And I'm like, okay, wait, that's not Jonah Hex. It's Clayface, but he looks a lot like Shadow.
Okay.
I thought it was pretty interesting imagery, given the fact that Batman basically takes a lot from the Shadow. But yeah, I think it was the simple whodunit. You know, I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you crazy kids. You know, the completely one-track minded villain of like, what are you gonna do after this, bro? You know what I'm saying? Like you had no plan after this. You just gonna get the girl and then do what? They didn't like being friend zoned, so he just kidnapped her. And she was still giving him shit. She was like laying she was like laying restrained and still talking crap. I don't know. I just liked the aesthetic of this episode. What do you think of this Clayface?
Yeah, so I've got a few thoughts here. One is very clever use of Clayface's powers without having to spend the money on the animation.
Yeah.
he's been playing them the whole time, just being different people, and you never had to have him do the transformation
The
thing
tornado,
that would
the
have taken up.
Tasmania tornado.
Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah,
would have taken up, a good like $10,000 in animation fees.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
he's just like he's been doing it the entire time, and I was like, you don't know who you've been speaking to for most of the episode because like, did he get there before you? Has he been playing? Has he been playing this actor or that actor or whatnot? Right?
Yeah.
Um, not this character or that character. Also, I don't know if it's a reference. I thought the the title was kind of cute because it reminded me of the whole the Richard III speech from Richard III, which is just like and so I shall become a villain.
Yeah. Yeah. And very similar to the yes, father, I will become a bat or whatever. Like
Yes, yes.
people are picking and choosing their destinies here. I thought the look looked pretty gnarly. In a world where we're just kind of trying to ground things. I thought that whole thing
Mm-hmm.
worked. I'm not. I always thought, or from my memory, the Clayface thing is a vanity thing, like him trying to stay in Hollywood and him trying to,
Yeah.
stay afloat. This is a little bit more tragic. The idea that he just never looked good enough to be a starring man in
Yeah.
a rom com, and thus this was his attempt to try to get into that, not hold on to any sort of stardom that was slipping, but to almost reach out further than where he
Yeah.
was told he could. Which there's a tragedy in there as well, right?
Yeah. It's like I'm a good actor, but like I'm not freaking Leonardo DiCaprio, and that kind of holds me back. God damn
Yeah, yeah.
it. One thing that I thought was kind of interesting because you brought up old girl just giving him shit.
Yeah.
How did she get the thing off of her mouth?
I don't know now that you say that. Now that you say that, I do not remember.
I
Um,
don't pick up on a lot of things, but I noticed that the moment it happened, I was like, wasn't there a thing around her? Her hands are bound. How did she get the thing off?
yeah. I also like that some of this stuff is like Renee or Barbara figures it out, and Batman's just like following them. Like Batman's just
Right.
like behind them, and he's like, "Yeah, I've solved it.
Yes, do the work for
I'm
me.
here just in time." Hey, it is taxpayer dollars. Get your money's worth, Bruce. Our next episode is "Kiss of the Catwoman." Sorry, at a museum
We're not
showcase.
doing that yet.
At a museum showcasing Gotham's elite jewels, Bruce Wayne meets an heiress named Selina Kyle, who seems particularly interested in his late mother Martha Wayne's pearls. Later,
Mm-hmm.
Bruce is sent to a month of therapy with Dr. Harleen Quinzel after he assaults a patron who insulted his parents. That was very funny. That was a moment that I found funny. These guys like, come on, these pearls in the East End, like, come on, what did you think was gonna happen? He's like, he punches her in the face. That was a very Oscar slap
So
moment.
I thought this was interesting in the sense that I don't know if I was reading too much into it, but when it happened, I thought that I don't know. I guess I thought it seemed unlike him. So like I came to the conclusion that he did it on purpose to get to Harleen.
That's not completely out of the realm of possibility. I don't know why I thought it was. I guess because it just happened. I thought it was him. Like at one
Yeah.
point, he tells her, "Come on, I don't blow off my top," and she was like, "Well, you did," and then I was like, "Well, right." So I thought that was interesting, but like, what a thing to say in front of the
Yeah.
man. I mean, obviously
Seriously.
you have to know who he is.
Like
Absolutely
you're in the man's
ridiculous.
house.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and yeah, so then he's forced to take this therapy, but um he obviously divulges how much in his childhood the death of his parents meant to him. There's also a
Mm-hmm.
part of him that's staying very standoffish. The way Harley puts it is his walls are too high for her to
Too
climb.
high. Yeah.
And I think that's just Batman, basically, in a
Yeah.
nutshell. Didn't know this about Catwoman, but to be honest, I don't know much about like Catwoman lore. But in
Mm.
this, she falls into debt. Her dad left her, got arrested or something. And so she turns into a jewel thief. and she adopts the persona of Catwoman. She also has like a really smart talking maid,
Yeah.
which I was not aware that was a Catwoman thing. But
I wasn't either. I took it as this like weird bearer of like Batman and Catwoman.
yeah,
So like they both have this sort of servant that they talk to, and like they're closer together than they think, but they're not the same person.
that's pretty interesting. Because at first, the first thing that they say is that they are both orphans, right?
Yeah.
So they have that in common. I'm glad we skipped over the actual cat face costume for Catwoman. I'm glad we went to this. This is barely a costume. This is more like her being showy, like showing off, right?
Yeah. I do love how he pokes holes in that idea. It's like we're both orphans. Like your dad's in prison.
Yeah, this is way different, girl. Yeah, she's doing this whole jewel thief thing. Batman eventually catches her in the act, and Kyle says, "Well, I was inspired by you. Look at my car, and I'm Catwoman, dummy." Like she basically does her whole branding thing.
Yeah.
She upgrades her car with some gadgets to continue her crime spree. She's bailed out by Gotham District Attorney Harvey Dent, allowing her to keep stealing, kind of just showing the revolving door of criminality, right? Like she got caught red-handed, red-handed, and Harvey was still able to get her off. So, Bruce, suspecting that she plans to steal Martha's pearls, orders the museum to close early to set up a trap. Catwoman is caught again, and when she returns home, she discovers that her maid, Greta, sold all her belongings and refuses to help her out, leaving her broke.
Wow.
The guy that Bruce intimidates here to get some information on old Selena is a man named Eel O'Brien, who most know as the Plastic Man. So I don't know if we're gonna see some Plastic Man noir.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah. I never forget the name Eel. Like the first name Eel. Come on. What are we doing here? Eel O'Brien. So
reminds me of D'Lo Brown.
D'Lo Brown. D'Lo Brown. Anything you want to say on the Catwoman episode?
Not really. Very well played by Christina Ricci. Good and someone who I could have seen as that character in real life at a different time.
100%. And she's doing a very weird thing for me because I had a childhood crush on her, but I also had a childhood crush on Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. So now I'm just hearing one crush come out of another character's mouth, and it's doing all kinds of things to me. But yeah,
tornado of crushes.
She did well done. She did a great job.
This story, it makes a point to point out because like I guess you've got some interesting names on here. The last story was done by Greg Rucka, and this story was done by Ed Brubaker.
Yes, Ed Brubaker famously not returning for the second season, correct?
Not that I know of.
I heard.
I don't know what the second season even looks like.
Let me see what I can find. But I feel like he dipped out.
I remember Ed Brubaker was a big draw for me and Yogi for this series.
100%.
Me and him are big fans of his writing, not only just in the superhero sector because he did probably our favorite Captain America, but like his little just original criminal books that he likes to put out.
It's interesting. He says, "I'll warn you guys. It's definitely a lot different than Batman the Animated Series. It's very much a reconception of starting over. It's not PG-13, but it's a lot different. It's sort of like the show Bruce Timm always wanted to make that they wouldn't let him make. There's a lot more,
because you're making it for kids.
Yeah, he's like, there's a lot more, people actually getting punched on camera. And I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but it's, everyone will kill me if I say it, but it's kind of noir. It kind of a different take that I hope that people will love, but I think people will also be shocked by something. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I
definitely buy the idea that like this was the version that I always wanted to do.
Yeah, and I'm seeing here just a statement that says he won't return, but I'm not seeing any more thread to pull as to like why, when it was decided, who announced it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess he's not coming back. Be interesting. I mean, we literally just dealt with that with Bo DeMeo on X-Men
Well,
97. So
yeah. Although that one's much weirder, so I don't know.
very strange. And I want, hey, does Ed Brubaker got OnlyFans?
No, I don't think so.
Only bats. Let's do it. So,
Oh no.
Night of the Hunters. After Mayor Jessup orders the creation of a task force to capture Batman, Commissioner Gordon appoints Detective Renee Montoya to lead it. I thought this was. Meanwhile, corrupt GCPD detectives Bullock and Flask, with guidance from Dr. Harley Quinzel's psychological expertise, devise a plan to lure Batman out using the masked criminal named Firebug. Not Firefly, Firebug.
Mm.
They intentionally allow Firebug to start a fire, betting that Batman will show up to stop it, giving them opportunity to catch him. When the fire breaks out, Batman arrives to rescue civilians, skillfully avoiding Bullock and Flask's swap team. As the chaos unfolds, Bullock and Flask, eager to cover their tracks, murder Firebug to eliminate any evidence of their involvement and to further solidify that they are scumbags in this and we cannot trust them. Despite their treachery, Batman works alongside Commissioner Gordon, who disapproves of the task force's morally questionable methods, to save the remaining civilians trapped in the blaze. After the crisis is averted, Batman disappears into the shadows once again. In the aftermath, Bullock and Fast are hailed as heroes by Mayor Jessup and placed in charge of the new task force focused on apprehending Batman. Meanwhile, Commissioner Gordon barely manages to keep his job, his moral conflict growing as he's forced to contend with the corrupt practices of his own department. And that has been a kind of characterization of Gordon from the beginning, right? He's the one good guy in a sea of bad. I wish he had one friend in this. He has no friends in this. His daughter.
No, which also, despite like his edginess, was kind of the position Bullock took.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like Bullock would be like, "Come on, Jim. Like, like I know where your side is, but let me give you like a little bit of the other side."
We got stuck on some toes here, James.
Yeah, he's even. I feel like maybe this Gordon's even more straight laced. This guy's no nonsense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I dug that too. I always like Renee Montoya when you put her in things. She should be in more things. Obviously, a creation also of the Batman the Animated Series. So it's interesting that they rope her and Harley back into animation because they were birthed in animation. Very, very interesting. Let's get into the Harley Quinn of it all.
I'm definitely getting the feeling that she will not remain with the GCPD for very long. The way they're writing her.
Yeah. Do you see her putting on a cape and cowl though?
I see her putting on a face, or no face of that.
Yeah, I can see that. Let me. I just wanted to pull this up real quick. But Jamie Chung plays Harley Quinn.
Yes.
According to IMDb, she initially portrayed Harley Quinn as a terrible version of the late Arlene Sorkin original portrayal before she was told not to do that and try something else.
Maybe don't do the voice.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, let's just. And again, if somebody else does it, it wasn't. I don't think it was Tara Strong. There's somebody doing Harley on a project, and I'm like, you're doing way too much of it. You know what I'm saying? Like the
an
voice
animated project right now.
Maybe it was that Harley Quinn Batman movie.
Maybe.
Is that Tara Strong?
That was that. Are you talking about the one with Nightwing?
I believe so. The 2017 film. That
was okay. So you have two versions of it basically. Both of them are girls from The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. It's Melissa Roach.
Rauch. Yeah. I think so. Yeah, but yeah, Big Bang Theory alum. She does it in that one little movie, Batman and Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
And the Harley Quinn series is Kaylee Cuoco, also famously of Big Bang Theory and what was the show with John Ritter that he passed away?
Three's Company? No, wait.
No, but he passed away
while he was doing it. Yeah. Gosh.
I don't remember the name of that show, but Yeah.
Dating
Pretty
rules.
cool, who's also
Eight
doing
simple rules.
pretty okay.
8 simple
Simple
rules.
rules?
Yeah. 8 simple rules for
Okay,
dating my teenage
yes.
daughter.
Yes, I believe she was a teenage daughter.
She was a teenage daughter. I'm looking at it now. This is wow. What a snapshot. What a snapshot. Old girl who plays Leela is the mom. So yeah, let's get into the Harley Quinn episode, The Stress of Her Regard. After several wealthy businessmen in Gotham suddenly donate their entire fortunes to charity and then mysteriously disappear, Barbara Gordon begins to suspect that her clone friend, Dr. Harley Quinn, her close friend, Dr. Harley Quinzel, might be involved in the strange events. As Barbara digs deeper, she uncovers a shocking truth. Dr. Quinzel has taken the persona of Harley Quinn, a jester-like character who believes she can correct the minds of the businessmen by subjecting them to intense torture. Harley sees herself as some sort of savior trying to fix what she believes are their morally corrupted minds using extreme and violent methods. Barbara, concerned for her friend's well-being, joins forces with Batman to track Harley down. Their search leads them to the basement of one of Harley's patients' homes where they believe the missing businessmen are being kept captive. Unfortunately, Batman is ambushed and overpowered by Harley, who knocks him unconscious before the house is rigged to explode. What do you think of this, like, sort of like menagerie of sad businessmen? I guess like this, almost like this. It's almost like this zoo, right?
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
Oh, that was interesting. That was definitely interesting. I don't know. I didn't think much of it other than like it was really entertaining.
I guess I think of the is it? It's one of the Batman Arkham games, but you keep putting people in, like you keep putting people in cells, and so the
Yes.
more you keep playing the game, the more everyone is in a cell or whatever. That kind of
Yeah,
brought those
and
memories
then
back.
they have a bunch of lines, and you go back and talk to them.
Yeah, talk rap. Yeah.
Yes. One of the most interesting things I think about Arkham Knight is the game has like a whole set of lines based on what order you finish the game in.
Ah, that's interesting.
So like they spoilers for old ass Arkham Knight.
Right.
They do when you end the main campaign, you are revealed to be the Batman is revealed to be Bruce Wayne,
Yeah.
and you can continue doing Batman things after that happens. And
Yes.
everything that happens after that, they acknowledge the fact that they all know you're Bruce.
Right. And there's
So
people
like,
talking crap. You know, when you listen to the people on the street that are usually talking crap, they
yes,
talk crap about
if
Bruce
you
Wayne.
do all the side missions after the main campaign, there are lines that acknowledge that all the villains know you're Bruce Wayne now.
Right.
But if you do them before that, they don't. It's just sort of regular Batman talk.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you want to talk about world building? They did a terrific job on that game.
Yes.
You want to weigh in on Fat Alfred?
I don't have an opinion on Alfred being fat, other than I thought it was funny that they had another Butler character later on that is exactly the vision that people expected to have
Yeah,
of Alfred.
100%. I was trying to start an argument, as always with comic books, and I was trying to argument over the fact that we have not had a Alfred yet with a mustache.
Yeah.
And so I decided to go, like, I'm talking about like cinematically, live action, no Alfred
Cinematically, of
mustache.
course.
So I went back to check, and in his original appearance, he doesn't have a mustache. He is bald.
Okay.
But most important distinction is he
Is
has
that
fat.
Adam West?
No, I'm talking about the actual like comic book, the comic. He was Alfred.
Okay, yes.
He was Alfred Beagle at first, and then he became Alfred Pennyworth.
Okay.
But he kind of just resembled that dude from Popeye who wanted the hamburgers. He's just like a big round,
Yes.
round dude.
Yeah.
I
Look like an egg.
Yeah, but I like in this that he's combative towards Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
He serves very much like his conscience, even if he can't guarantee that Bruce will listen to him. You know, he's the one that's like,
Yeah.
you're going a little bit too far with Harvey, you know, or you know, where do you think any of this is gonna lead, kind of stuff. He asks the important
Right.
questions because Bruce is obviously one track minded with him.
I think it's sort of interesting in that sense that I don't know when the idea began, but I guess when I look at Alfred, the only thing I can pick out here about him being a larger guy now is part of me wonders, is this the Alfred that has the SAS background?
Yeah.
I don't know if that came like later, so I can get why not everyone would use it.
There's also something subconscious about a very thin servant, right? It
Are you not
almost
paying him? Are you not feeding him?
well, it just plays into the mind that he is second, right? Like everything, all of his time, energy, and all of it goes to
Right.
Bruce, and he's just kind of like dwindling away in the background. Where this guy's like, nah,
Yeah.
screw that. As soon as he leaves, I'm getting a cheeseburger, and it is what it is. Down with that. I gotta figure out who. Despite being knocked out for a moment, Batman regains his senses just in time to save Barbara from the impending explosion. However, his attempt to stop Harley from escaping ends in failure. In a dramatic turn of events, Harley falls from a great height and appears to meet her demise. However, it's revealed that Harley miraculously survives the fall. In a final twist, she calls up Detective named Montoya, telling her to cancel their planned date. That was a little sad.
Mhm.
Harley cryptically informs Montoya that she is temporarily leaving Gotham, leaving the city and her chaotic new identity behind for the time being, signaling the beginning of a new unpredictable chapter in her life. Um, Renee seemed like truly affected
Yes.
by the idea that Harley would be leaving and just their friendship overall. And I found that kind of charming because for the in most cases, no one cares about Harley but Poison Ivy. She has
Hmm.
no like friends that she hangs out with and chills with, like relationships or no one. And so to have her have this like group of girls that care about her, I think
Hmm.
it's interesting. And her choosing, even knowing that what she's doing might not be right, her choosing to still give an alibi for or a rain check, I guess I will for the date. So like sweet, even though she's obviously a crazy person. Any of that ring true to you?
Yes. I thought it was very interesting that that she that she sort of also maintains her practice whilst being Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Um, I think this is part of why I think Harley was this is the most interesting version of Harley I've seen in a while. It's just, you know, free of the Joker and complete agency of her fuckery.
Yeah.
Um, uh, it creates relationships, has a best friend and a lover. Um, I thought it was interesting that Barbara never really says anything.
No, considering the very heavy subject matter at hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um.
Uh, like finds out who Harleen is, and it never really seems to come up. I guess because she just assumes she's dead. So
Yeah.
what's to gain?
Right.
I allowed myself to believe for a second that maybe one of her underlings like sent a recording.
Yeah. 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 But I guess it goes back to this whole idea that the corruption is not surprising. That other people are
Yeah.
just falling into these cracks in Gotham and is not surprising. If anything, it's just going to harden Barbara even more. I don't think I don't think Jim has the rope for these guys. Like if they're wrong, kind of stuff. I think Barbara
Hmm.
cared, and didn't want to think that she was up to no good, and kind of turned out that way.
Yeah.
Let's go to the ghost.
I mean, I think Barbara's sort of that person who's like, there needs to be a level of leniency within not necessarily the law, but within the sentencing system.
Yeah,
Like you just gotta say, like there's a difference between, like I killed this man who said something wrong about my mama, and I killed this man who beats me.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, you both killed a man, but let's look at the situation.
I also think she's getting dejected over this whole like Harvey treats this like a game,
Right.
like wins and losses, right? Like getting people off and all. Same thing with like he just got Selena off for like point blank period stealing shit, and it's not a game for her. Like she's trying to do the best for Gotham, but Gotham doesn't really
Yeah.
care.
But also, like, he plays off the fact that he gets Selena off scot-free with just, like, there's nothing to gain in prolonging this because she's broke.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty interesting too. A pretty pragmatic take on that. So, in Night Ride, a mysterious ghost on horseback known as the Ghost of Gotham begins robbing the city's working class, causing panic and threatening District Attorney Harvey Dent's mayoral campaign, especially with the crimes occurring on his watch. Dent is offered a large donation from mob boss Rupert Thorne, because that's something you want to take. But he hesitates, unsure whether or not to accept the tainted money. I like what a jerk ghost monster, whatever thing, to steal from like the working class. Like steal from the if he was stealing from the rich, I don't think anyone would care. I think people would just let it happen. Look up, that ghost is back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But he's stealing from the working class. What a trash ass ghost. So piss off, ghost. Meanwhile, Batman struggles to face the ghost directly, unable to defeat it through conventional methods. This is classic Batman not believing this stuff is real.
Yeah.
Is that something that you like about that character? That he's so kind of matter of fact that, like, come on, it can't be a ghost. It has to be somebody playing this man.
Yeah, I absolutely imagine that his I believe that everything he would understand, at least up to this point, would be deeply rooted in a physical reality, you know.
Yeah.
And I think also like it helps him. I think it helps him simplify his cause with like his sort of almost black and white view on criminality.
Makes it easier for him.
Yeah.
Literally, this is a shade of gray. It's just ghost. It's literally,
Yeah.
literally
Like I can't arrest it for its crimes.
Yes. Go ghost prison.
Yeah.
So he soon deduces that the spirit haunting Gotham is Jim Craddock, a former gambling addict, Craddock the addict, and the previous owner of an old property that Bruce's friend Lucius Fox recently acquired.
Mhm.
Batman seeks the help of Linton Midnight. I've never seen this man before in my life. Apparently, he debuted in a Constantine comic.
Yes, Hellblazer.
Are you familiar with this man?
No, but I am always down with the the Keith David-esque voodoo shaman,
Yes.
black voodoo shaman, friends on the
100%.
other side.
Yep, friends on the other side. Batman seeks the help of Lynn Midnight, a mystical figure who advises him to perform a ritual.
Yes.
I just like his demeanor in this. Like he's just all like none of this is good. You don't want to really know. You're just asking questions to ask. I'll get this done for you, but like let's stop pretending like we're friends and we're chatting about this. Like you know what I'm saying? Like here, take this, bring it back, and then when he eventually has him, he's like, "What are you gonna do with him?" Like, come on, bro, you don't really want it.
He's like, no, I don't.
Come on.
It's like, homie, I'm from a world you do not have the time or the bandwidth for.
That's the thing. I wish more magical people had that demeanor. It's
Okay.
like just so not surprised. That's one of the things I liked about because it was a blind spot at the time. But I got into reading Hellboy. And that's totally Hellboy's vibe. I mean, he literally looking in the mirror, he can't be shocked, right? When he goes anywhere, he's like, they'll be like, oh, there's ghosts and they're haunting the fourth floor, and then he'll go up to the fourth floor and be like, all right, come on, like are we gonna do this now, or I gotta pull out the gun, kind of stuff, like completely over it. And whenever you see Mignola draw him, he's slumped shouldered, right? Like almost like his hands are both 50 pounds. And he's just like, oh, come on. There's never like a try. He's never standing in a Superman pose. He's always like,
I really don't want to be here.
yeah, where's the ghost?
I want to go home and watch the goddamn Bulls game.
Yes.
Leave the man alone. It was something that I remember being quite an asshole about when it came to like. In the beginning, it makes sense when you've gone on like season 5, 6, or 7 of the Flash, and your characters are just like, that's impossible. I'm just like, right. What have you seen so far?
100%. Again, I think with one of the biggest tropes is like, that's just a story. Like, come on, bro, come on. So this gets like really dark too, because the ritual requires sacrificing the deed to the old property and the blood of a nobleman. Like, who's the nobleman? They're like, oh yeah. Alfred's like, yeah, by the way, Related to noble people. Bruce like, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Give me your blood. Cut your hand
But
over.
also,
Cut it
like,
over here.
it's also that window into how, like, how separated their relationship is compared to normal Alfred and Bruce relationships, which is like,
You're right, because
like
he would
I
just be
didn't,
like, you are a noble person. Like, he would know.
yeah, right. I mean, it's just, but what you get is like, oh, I didn't know you came from a noble family. It's just like you never asked.
Right. Another big change in this is he's constantly calling him Pennyworth.
Yeah.
How did that? I know that distinctly made people mad at Damien. How did that? How did that make you feel coming out of Bruce?
That was like the first clue. It's like, okay, there is distinctly no familiarity between these two.
Yeah.
Not in the sense of like obviously they know each other because like childhood. By the way, call back to another earlier scene. Fucking like 11-year-old Bruce telling his grown man like,
By the way,
you are going to join me in my criminal enterprise.
I know it's 3 o'clock in the morning, but we have to make them pay. Remind me that I told you that we have to make them pay.
And that you're helping me. I am. Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
And I want corn pops in the morning. In the morning, please. Can I get the corn pops? Yeah, because it's like I'm trying to.
I'm sorry. I'm a small boy eating his cereal. So like, so this is what we're going to do, Pennyworth.
Yes.
Yes.
They need to pay with their blood. It's pretty good. If we're gonna psychoanalyze Bruce, where is this disdain coming from? Is it does Alfred remind him of his parents? Is it the idea that this guy's seen him since he was a kid and he can't show any weakness, or else he'll like view himself as right back as a child, talking to his butler? Where do you think this distance and disdain? Because he raised the man for the most part.
Yes.
So where do you think this comes from? What do you think this is?
Oh, so I'm not sure. There's a comment that Lucius makes about treating the staff like people.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God! Yes, you're right.
So I wonder if that was something that the family was doing, and that he like latched onto.
Yeah.
Like maybe that comes from Thomas and Martha.
That would be crazy if he's the only one to warm up to them.
Yeah. Maybe it's maybe it has something to do with the idea that like that Alfred wasn't there, because like in the crime alley scene they actually show it from like almost Alfred's perspective where he's cleaning the car and then he hears the two shots. So maybe there's like a distance that like you could have helped, but you were too busy like doing that.
I can see that, and then
so it could be personal.
Then you could just lump the whole hatred onto him, right?
Yeah,
for failing.
You could.
I can see that. I can see that too. Why didn't you tell him to go down another alley, Pennyworth?
Why did you tell him that this was stupid?
I'm gonna assume we never saw someone cut open their palm and bleed on a bleed for a blood ritual in the animated series. This is showing that we've kind of upped it a notch. And also, I don't know, you've probably heard a million people rant about this. Is that the easiest way to get blood out of yourself?
Out of the palm?
It's always the palm, but is that the easiest way? Is there an easier way? Just going, and now I have a gaping open wound, and I'm squirting it on.
I guess the idea is that the blood from the palm is also the easiest way to like control where you're going to put it.
Yeah, because if you cut yourself,
like if I cut it out of my arm, then I can't. I gotta do the.
Yeah. And it is like it is like the end is the extremity. The blood kind of stops there, and comes back.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I just always like it. Always just seems like a pain because it's not a very fleshy, part of your body.
No, but, like the other trick is obviously like to do it with the finger, but then that's just uncomfortable.
You're just waiting over the. I'm almost there, Master Bruce.
It's just a kind of.
I'm almost there, Master Bruce. Give me 1 second. During the ritual, Craddock possesses Alfred in an attempt to stop Batman. Talks a bunch of crap as well. However, Batman completes the ceremony using Alfred's blood to trap Craddock spirits in a vial. He then hands the vial over to Midnight for safekeeping. In the aftermath, Harvey Dent, pressured by the growing crisis, reluctantly accepts Thorne's donation, furthering entangling his campaign with the mob. Do you buy Harvey taking his money in this moment? Is he that afraid to lose this race?
I think so.
Yeah.
I do buy that. I think he's patterned his whole life around winning.
Right.
So I think I think he doesn't. I think he doesn't need to suffer the indignity of losing this. I also think it's interesting that like you don't see. I don't feel like I get his purpose for being mayor other than just furthering his career.
Right.
So I wonder where the desperation to win comes from.
Could be one of those guys, like you said, that just is always failing upwards and just can't comprehend not winning in this instance. But I think Barbara does understand that there's no altruism coming out of Harvey. He's not doing this to better Gotham. He's doing this for something on his resume. I think that's the reason why Gotham ends up paying him back, I guess, the way that it does. Because his motives weren't true.
No.
We're up to.
There's something funny about Gotham just scanning everyone for their motives.
That's it. Moving Barbatos, bro. Moving target.
Oh God.
Jim Gordon grows concerned that someone has placed a bounty on his head when a series of dangerous assassins, including Floyd Lawton himself, aka Deadshot, and a mysterious onomatopoeia come to Gotham with the intent to kill him. After Floyd Lawton almost succeeds in assassinating him, Jim reluctantly agrees to be escorted to a safe house at Wayne Gardens for his protection. However, Onomatopoeia's group eventually track him down, putting Jim's life at further risk. Meanwhile, Batman investigates the hit and discovers that the bounty was placed on an inmate at Blackgate Penitentiary named Muller. Batman follows Jim's security detail, tracking him to a safe house. In an intense confrontation, Batman helps fend off the assassins, but in the process, he uncovers a shocking twist. While trying to cancel the bounty on Jim's life, Batman learns that Barbara Gordon, Jim's daughter, is the true intended target.
Oh no!
As the situation unfolds, Officer Jim Corrigan, which is the damn Spectre. We're getting the Spectre in this, bro?
I guess so.
Motivated by his own desire for the bounty, tries to claim the reward for himself. However, Jim Gordon disarms him and has him arrested for trying to kill his own daughter. Meanwhile, later, Muller reveals that he had ordered the hit not because of any personal vendetta against Jim, because he believed he deserved better accommodations at Blackgate and wanted to manipulate the system to his advantage. And this is, I feel like this was a pretty open and shut case, but this was Onomatopoeia, third adaptation. He was in Arrow. Recently.
Was he?
Yeah, or at least that's what this says. I have to double check if it was one of those weird, like, there was a lot of people.
There's so many villains of the week, it's so easy to miss them.
Yeah, and they're like, it's like when Amazo was the boat. He's like not really a thing, you know?
Yeah.
Arrow. I'm not. Everything's putting up the Arrow comic. I'm not seeing him in the show.
Okay.
But then obviously Pia.
Pia Mannheim.
Pia Man. What a terrible name. Absolutely terrible. Oh, I'm settling on he wasn't an Arrow. Okay, so the next episode I really liked, but maybe because I was getting Ace from the Justice League episode.
I absolutely see it. It came to me several times.
Yeah, I really liked this episode. It was the right amount of dark and sad, in my opinion. Also, like they deal with an orphanage in this, and everyone at the orphanage is named after a Robin. It's like, it's like Jace, which is Jason. You have a I want to say there's a Dickie, there's a Stephanie, and there's a Carrie. So you know that they're all there, I guess, right for the picking whenever Bruce wants to pick one up.
Yeah, that last one kind of got to me.
Yeah. During a bustling fundraiser carnival held to boost Harvey Dent's campaign for district attorney, a grim mystery starts to unfold when reports emerge of several orphans vanishing without a trace, casting a shadow over the festive atmosphere. Determined to get to the bottom of this, Batman takes up the case and soon identifies the perpetrator, Natalia Knight, the estranged younger sister of the brilliant but reclusive inventor Anton Knight. Talia is afflicted with a rare and enigmatic condition that leaves her dependent on draining life energy from others to sustain herself. This process not only halts the progression of her ailment, but also grants her superhuman strength, making her a dangerous adversary. I thought she was killing these people. I was like, this got dark. And I think the animation of her taking the energy?
The energy, yeah, I think that's the word they use, Austin. Yeah.
The animation used when she takes life force is horrifying. Like the way her mouth moves, seeing the energy be drained from these children, quite messed up. And basically,
I was gonna say it gave me sort of like Shang Tsung, like soul stealing vibes.
Yeah, we were just dealing with that a little bit with Agatha, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
Draining others to stay, stave off death,
like zombifying them.
Yes, and so she's kind of like getting more unhinged as this goes. I don't know if it's just desperation to sustain herself. Her brother keeps saying like her brother's down with her doing it so long as she doesn't kill anybody, but she seems to be more down to do it, like just straight up kill people. She like befriends these orphans and tricks them so she can.
Yeah.
I was gonna say so she could suck them off in the dark, but that's the
none
of that.
No,
none of that's great.
That's a no.
The situation spirals out of control when Natalia, frustrated by what she sees as Anton's oppressive control over her life, severs ties with him in a fit of rage. She kills him. She throws him against like a shelf, and the shelf lands on him. She doesn't help him. She like leaves. Batman comes later on. Batman doesn't help him. He's like talking to him while there's a 200-pound weight on his chest. Let me give you my sister's origin. Hold on. There's blood in my lungs. So, her desperation drives her to escalate her attacks, preying on unsuspecting victims, including the missing orphans. Sorry. Batman's relentless pursuit. Oh, go ahead, brother.
I was gonna say, amusingly, Nocturna is played by McKenna Grace, who has some very interesting credits. One, her breakout role was seemingly was in Gifted, which she co-starred with Chris Evans. She's her two biggest roles being Ghostbusters, both Afterlife and Frozen Empire, where she's playing Phoebe Spengler.
Yes.
And as a young Carol Danvers in Captain Marvel.
Interesting.
One of the several young child Carol Danvers you see in those flashbacks.
Yeah, she was in Gifted, but that was the film with Chris Evans. Yes. Jamie Chung is in Gifted, the show, the X-Men show.
Oh, the X-Men show, that's right.
Yeah, the X-Men show. So yeah, all this stuff is connected. It basically just seemed like DC was calling up, looking at Marvel resumes and going, "Yeah, I ain't call you in a while. Can I? You want to swing by over here and do some voice work?" Batman ends up getting to Natalia. The two face off in a tense and emotionally charged confrontation. As the battle unfolds, Batman forces Natalia to confront the horrifying truth that her actions have led to Anton's death.
The truth.
Boy, if he didn't say that, he would have got killed.
Yeah.
He's getting his ass whooped, and she's basically about to drain his body. And he's like, it's not what your brother would have wanted, or whatever. And she's like, well, I'll talk to him after all this is after I'm done killing you. And he's like, well, you can't because he's dead. And she's like, what? And she completely stops. Yeah, 100%. And then she completely stops doing everything that he's doing. This is enough to like get to her. Anton, heartbroken and desperate to save her from herself, had begged Batman to intervene before succumbing to her attack. Overcome with remorse and guilt, Natalia surrenders, her strength drained not by her condition but by the weight of her guilt. Batman ensures Natalia is taken to a secure location for treatment and rehabilitation while the surviving victims of her attack are rushed to the hospital to recover from their ordeal. The carnival, once a symbol of hope for Gotham's future, is left in the shadow of tragedy. This is my favorite episode because that right there, great chunk of comic book poppiness, Batman realizing that the person who is, is not a monster. Natalia's not a monster. She's driven to do horrible things given her condition. She's suffering, and I think Anton's love for her allowed Batman to sympathize way more. The fact that he cared that much about her.
Kind of reminded me of a Parasite.
Yeah.
It's like the more she does it, the more her body seems to reach out for more of it.
Yeah, it almost becomes an addiction, and then if she continued how she was, people were going to die. Because she was at one point just kind of taking enough that she needed, and that hunger just grew and grew and grew. And again, you get this. I think that's a very simple paint by number story. A criminal that go through the cracks, not really trying to be evil, ends up hurting a lot of people, and how their family is affected. Beautiful little buttoned up story. And then, in the world of politics, we got Harvey Dent's unyielding integrity that ends up getting put to the test. Behind closed doors, Dent meets with the infamous crime boss Rupert Thorne, who offers him a sizable donation to his campaign. However, the offer comes with a catch. Dent must agree to drop charges on one of Thorne's closest associates. Refusing to compromise his principles, Dent boldly rejects the proposition, and in front of everyone. The rejection enrages Thorne, and in an impulsive act of retaliation, one of Thorne's henchmen hurls a flask of acid at Dent's face. The attack leaves Dent's future and his once bright aspirations for Gotham forever altered, sowing the seeds for his transformation into becoming something darker. I like how all this played out.
I thought it was interesting. It was like a Dent, who's not prepared to sacrifice his clearly loose,
yes,
flappy morals. It's like, I have found my line for some reason here.
The freaking line from Bruce in jail later when he's like, "Now's not the time to be a good guy, Dent," or whatever like that. Like, he's like, bro, what? But this also reminds me kind of like one of my favorite moments in Shang-Chi.
Okay.
Or my favorite themes in Shang-Chi, which is it's when Wu puts away the rings that his family gets attacked. That's why he gets killed. And from that moment, he never puts them down again. It's almost like a reminder that it was his failing in doing so. This is the first good thing we've seen Harvey do. And it's immediately paid off in the worst possible way. That would drive a man insane. What am I even doing any of this for? Like, I just tried to walk that old lady across the street and I got mugged on that street. I wouldn't have even been on that street if I didn't help that lady cross. I like that dynamic.
Which I also find to always be interesting in the sense that, like, there is no... I don't know. I've never believed in any sort of, like, universal, like, karma or consequence in that sense. I don't think the universe reacts to your life in any particular way. But
complete indifference.
But it's the thing your brain does to make sense of something that makes no sense at all.
One day, bro, we'll have a long conversation about this, but I think it is extremely fascinating how much we are starved for meaning. We need things to mean things. We need it. We need it. And I think one of the most interesting parts of our minds is when tragedy happens, we need to be able to feel like we have control to stop it from happening again.
Right.
And whatever superstitions, right? Whether, oh man, you see, my team lost, but that was the one day I didn't buy a lotto ticket or whatever, right? So now I got to keep buying lotto tickets because that's the only time my team wins, kind of stuff. That causation stuff is so interesting to me because as we continue to find meaning, we will just add things that don't really add up so long as it makes us feel better in the end. And it's way easier for Harvey to blame this one act of good than to blame all the other acts of bad that got him over here.
Right.
Because he didn't just get. I love the line. I think it's in the finale. Where he's like, "Come on, they don't just throw acid in the face of regular people or something like that, right?" Someone spits that line out of like, "Come on," he must have deserved it or something. I'm like, who deserves acid? I mean, there are some people acid in the face. But I'm just saying, there's not many people who deserve acid in the face.
It's a very short list.
Yes, very short list. And then we basically get into what I consider like a 2-part Harvey episode, right?
Yeah.
The first one is The Killer Inside Me. In the wake of the horrific acid attack, Harvey Dent's life begins to unravel. With half his face permanently disfigured, he becomes consumed by insecurity and self-loathing, retreating from the public eye. His once bright political future dims further when he loses his bid for mayor, leaving him feeling abandoned and powerless. What do you think? This is now another in a long line of Two-Face adaptations. What do you think about this visual for the Caped Crusader Two-Face?
I enjoyed. I guess like I always do enjoy the funny shadow play you do before the reveal. That's always fun.
Yes, the little hints.
Like how do we keep the other side of his face like conveniently off the screen for a bit to sort of like, tease you about it. I thought it was interesting that he sort of went on stage without covering it. Or at least the idea he did that in his dream.
Yeah. Yeah. And they all start laughing at him and stuff. We've now seen, like, I feel, now that I've read enough and seen enough, the animated series version doesn't seem true. Like, the acid would do that to you. That's more like of a mutagen, like some sort of, like, thing. The blue skin, the white hair, and the big red lips. But
no.
Going from that to the very realistic take in The Dark Knight, right, where it's quite literally burnt off, and then now this, which is like,
and his drink is falling out of the side of his face.
Yes, and gotta burn. And then we have this, which is more like a skin graft, like did the best they could after the fact. Do you dig this, or do you think he should be more disfigured? Where do you sit on this whole line here?
I dug it fine. I guess the only if I had a how do I say a criticism, I thought the animation they did almost looked too much like the Clayface stuff earlier.
I could buy that. Yeah.
It looked very similar to the stuff they did for Clayface. I was just like, I feel like you could have got a little more left of that, but
sometimes it didn't sit directly in the middle. Sometimes I felt like something, which is fine. Like it's quite weird for someone to have their face literally bisected, like by an accident, like literally right down the middle. Seems a little weird. I'm looking at you.
The lengths the Dark Knight goes to keep that half of his face out of the thing.
Right. Because he's just splashing just that one side. He's like getting full coverage, like he's breading a chicken or something. He's like, let me get all that on that side. Yep. Tommy Lee Jones was like he just like put a purple marker straight down his face and painted that whole other side that way.
Yeah.
But
the worst kind of cartoon version of it too, where it's like it's like I not only is my face bisected, but I have specifically tailored half suits.
I'm bringing you now. You're in the hot seat. I was gonna bring that up. Where do you sit on the half disfigured suits of Harvey Dent? Because that is a thing. Not a fact.
I don't care for it. No, that's a bit too like.
Okay. Half disfigured is rough. What about just the two-toned? Is that a stretch as well? Because like in the Arkham series, for instance, in the Arkham series, that side is literally burned. Like the sleeve is burned. That side of the thing is actually burned. But like in Batman Forever, it's not burned. It's just two-tone.
Like if you want me to buy it, he's been wearing the same suit that he on that night the entire time, which means he must smell terribly.
Yeah.
Like, okay, sure. But like when you have a bunch of different, like radically different suits. Like it doesn't even seem like I'm willing to believe that you can go into a shop and find a two-toned suit.
Yeah.
But when like I don't believe that you can find a suit that is straight purple on one side and pinstriped on the other.
Yeah.
Like that's a
Purple zebra
custom job.
stripes.
You have to find somebody to make that for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Matter of fact, we'll get to that. I have another question, but we'll get to it in a bit.
Okay.
Hoping to lift Dent's spirits, Bruce Wayne arranges a night out to help his friend reconnect with the world. However, the outing takes a disastrous turn. Paranoid and self-conscious about his scarred appearance, Dent lashes out in the middle of the restaurant, drawing unwanted attention and escalating his feelings of isolation. I like this scene. I really like this scene. You gotta feel that way. I would feel that way. If I had like some crazy burn on my face and I was out, like I don't know if I could trust people just being nice to me or trust people being like, hey, let's just go outside for a bit. No one's gonna look. Like I would be super self-conscious, and he's the winner, right? So he's even more self-conscious, and I like that the trauma has broken him in a way that he's almost hearing voices mocking him, and and it lends easier to the snapping that he does a lot in this episode.
And I think he lends himself to be hyper aware of it because I think to some degree the character of Harvey Dent would be very self-aware of the kind of person he is, and that's exactly what he would have done.
This Harvey Dent totally would have been like, "Who's the freak in the with the half melted face?" Yeah, and can't even see. You know what's funny? I was gonna say can't even see that Bruce would be trying to do something altruistic, but ultimately it's not altruistic. I guess he kind of pegged for being right, huh?
To a degree, yeah. Like it's he's not doing this because they're friends, because they don't really get to be friends in this. Mm-hmm. He's doing this because he needs Dent.
Yeah. I like how I like the angry voice. I like the standoffish nature when he feels like no one's on his side. But I love Alfred approaching Bruce about all this. And he's like you made this worse. Like he's like straight up like, I think that what he says is, was it worth it, right? He asked him like, was it worth taking him out of his home to like he's quite literally just made a show, flipped out in front of everybody. Everyone knows who he is, and all for you to get another clue or another, get closer to this thing you're trying to solve. I like when Alfred calls Bruce out.
Isn't that the same exact question at the end of The Dark Knight?
Yeah. Because of the thing.
Like he asked Jim if it was well worth it, and Jim's like, I don't know if it will be for.
I mean,
like,
it is.
I think it is, but I don't know, but I don't know if it will be for a long time or something like that. Like, his answer was very like I feel like it was worth it now, but I feel like we'll find out later if this is gonna bite us in the ass.
Which is one of the most famous interactions in The Watchmen. At the ending of The Watchmen, right? Hey, was this all worth it? Was it all worth it? In the end, was it all worth it? Oh, Adrian, nothing ever ends. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, maybe for now, but nothing ever ends. Fueled by a desire for vengeance against those who wronged him, Dent spirals further into darkness. His yearning for justice becomes twisted, leading him on a violent rampage across Gotham. Targeting Rupert Thorne's network of criminals, Dent systematically takes down several of Thorne's henchmen, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. When he finally confronts Thorne himself, Batman arrives just in time to stop Dent from crossing the ultimate line. In their confrontation, Batman urges Dent to see reason, reminding him of the man he once was. Overwhelmed with guilt and the weight of his actions, and I want to say that Dent was kind of handling himself quite well in this moment. I'm glad Bruce stepped in, but I think if he wanted to, he would have handled all this. He would have really ended this whole Rupert Thorne business. He's throwing guys from balconies, shit. And he's setting people on fire in their apartments. This guy, he was ready for this. What did they call it in Archer? His like revenge tour or whatever. He kept Rampage. It's Rampage. He kept going Rampage. His Rampage. So Overwhelmed with guilt and the weight of his actions, Dent finally snaps out of his rage. Recognizing the need for help, he surrenders and willingly commits himself to Arkham Asylum. There,
Right.
amidst the chaos of his shattered life, he finds a glimmer of hope when Barbara Gordon, believing in the man Harvey once was and could be again, steps forward as his lawyer, determined to guide him towards redemption. That felt sweet, right? And earned.
Yeah. I think it's an. I think it's. I didn't think this till now, but like, I guess it's an interesting twist on the idea that like instead of Batman being the one to sort of be his friend, you end up with it being Barbara.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like they're doing a lot to have us want or care about that sort of like her more so than other characters. She's the stand-in for Bruce being his friend. She's the she does a lot for Batman in the sense of helping him out, like taking the place of Gordon in that. I wonder if Gordon's maybe not long for this world. She's gonna be the one kind of handle all this.
Mm.
This is also an idea of just how far Barbara thinks of redemption, right? She's a lawyer.
Yeah.
This could all be about winning cases, but she
It
believes
could.
in redemption so much that she has to now play that out with Harvey. You can't talk all that big game, and then Harvey becomes a bad guy. She's like, "Oh no, we throw criminals away." You didn't believe in throwing criminals away before, but you won't now. Let's get to this last episode, Savage Night. Barbara Gordon, firm in her belief that Harvey Dent can still find redemption, visits him in Arkham Asylum to offer her legal assistance. She assures him that his actions stemmed from manipulation and circumstances beyond his control, encouraging him to seize the chance to set things right. Touched by her faith in him, Dent agrees to cooperate, including testifying in court against Rupert Thorne and his criminal enterprise. However, Thorne's men, along with the corrupt cops Harvey Bullock and Arnold Flask, are determined to silence Dent before he can take the stand. I'm like, still, you guys are still assholes. You guys are still bad guys. You guys are still trying to kill Dent. This escalating threat forces Barbara and Batman to work together, coordinating with Jim Gordon and Renee Montoya to form a protective shield around Dent. This reminded me of when they try to kill Dent in The Dark Knight.
Right.
And they gotta like do a bunch of like they gotta do a bunch of hide the red ball with these cups. As the group struggles to keep Dent safe, tensions rise with each step towards justice met by fierce resistance from Gotham's criminal underworld. The conflict comes to a head during a violent confrontation at the Gotham docks. Thorne's enforcers, including Flask, ambush the group, intent on eliminating Dent once and for all. In the chaos, Flask corners Barbara and prepares to strike. At the last moment, Dent intervenes, pushing her out of harm's way and taking the fatal blow himself. His sacrifice ensures Barbara's safety, but leaves Batman and the others reeling. This is the question I had.
Go for it.
Does Dent serve the Batman story best as a continued villain who is always in the background causing ruckus, or as a cautionary tale that ultimately dies? Because now this is the second time, right? That he just is dead before he amasses a gang, before he commits more crimes. And I want to preface this by saying I read some of the early Two-Face stuff, and it is terrible. It is. Yes. It's like, well, who robbed the bank? Who robbed the bank, sir? Well, Alfred, it was the Second National Bank, and it was two men with two Tommy guns robbed two tellers. I think it's Two-Face. He was one of those villains, like super about the gimmick, like totally about the gimmick. But yeah,
sort of like a compulsively gimmicked.
Yes, it needs to be two, kind of thing.
I'm the octopus. I have 8 of everything.
Yes, they play a lot with the coin in this, right? But it's not. He's not giving it as a gimmick, where he does it once. He shoots that guy in the street.
Well, no, he also does it with Barbara.
Oh, early on, right? In the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do
It's
that.
Barbara or somebody where he
does the
he does the coin flip and he's just like you would bet somebody's life on chance. It's like no, because it's a fucking fake coin.
it's Barbara, and it's in the beginning, and it's, like I said, it's very much played like that Rachel moment in The Dark Knight, and then later on she does it like whether or not she's going to become his lawyer, but it's the same coin, so it was heads both ways, and she gives it to him in kind of like a sweet moment.
It's
That
his
bookends
tricky
itself.
way of getting whatever he wants by like a fake game of chance that he always wins.
Right, right. And in this moment, she kind of flips it on his head. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think he makes sense as a guy who continues to populate Gotham in this way, or is there just not much rope for a man with half his face burnt to a crisp? And not only that, probably, now that I think about it, probably one of the most famous villains, right?
Yeah,
Like everyone knows who Harvey Dent is. At least the cops would. What do you think?
yeah. He's like even before the movie, like where he's uh, well, I'll say like the Dark Knight probably made Two-Face reach the height of his popularity. I'd say even before then, when you play a video game, you expect to see Two-Face. When you come across any particular comic, you expect to come across him at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I think in a situation like this where, uh, it's not this. I don't know. I don't think it's. I don't think a lot of products are as reliable in the day as in the old days of where these cartoons were on 5 days a week
Yeah.
across across the after school block of children's programming in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Where you have like seemingly a lot of area to work with. I think in a situation where we might only get 2 seasons or 3 seasons or 4 seasons, and maybe he works best that way in a short formed uh in a short formed artwork where the tragedy of Harvey Dent has more meaning than just the career criminal Harvey Dent who pops up and then goes away and then pops back up again and
Yeah.
goes away.
Yeah. You got to think the idea of just being able to kill people had to, make Bruce Timm raise an eyebrow, right? Like that changes the whole landscape of this. There's parts of this series that almost feel like I'm glad it went more adult, but I feel like we still haven't gotten there yet, though, right? This doesn't feel like an adult cartoon to me. It has like adult elements in it, the same way I felt like the Batman and the animated series did. But this is a whole rating above it. I guess you see blood, people do get shot. I think punches back in those days would be like a punch that Batman threw, but you never see it connect, and the guy like falls over.
White Flash.
Yeah, there you go. So there's elements of that, but I wonder if we're gonna get. I think the Dent story is dark. I think that the Nocturna story, really, really dark. Killing orphan kids to suit your own needs. But I wonder if there's more depths in despair to come.
I think there is. I think when you get to play with some of the bigger names with like bigger stakes added to them, I think there will be I think they're just not in a situation at this moment where they are playing with cards that are just like we're doing any there's none of the big heavy stories in this.
Right.
There's no like Nightfall or how do you say Death in the Family or what's the one where the city gets cordoned off?
A No Man's Land.
Yes, that one. It's a lot of self-contained personal stories, and as you said earlier, it seems to be a lot of groundwork. Like if season 2 came right out the gate, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Whereas like maybe Bruce Timm is setting up all of this quasi year 2 stuff to be like, and year 3 is where it gets bad.
I can see that ramping up. Dent's sacrifice ensures Barbara's safety, but eventually leaves Batman and the others reeling. Enraged by Dent's death, Batman loses control. He confronts Flash, and he becomes perilously close to breaking his most sacred rule. He was about to kill that man. He was with a gun, and with a gun. Flash cowers, certain his life is over, but in a moment of restraint, Batman pulls back, sparing him. Later, Alfred reminds Batman that while he may have failed to save Dent's humanity, he has not lost his own, reaffirming the mission that drives him. As Gotham mourns Dent's loss, a new threat begins to take shape. A shadowy figure emerges, leaving a trail of bodies across the city. Each victim is killed by a bizarre toxin that contorts their face into ghastly, perpetual grins, hinting at the sinister presence lurking in the city's shadows. I applaud you for having the restraint to use Joker. But know this, and everyone know this, there will not be a single Batman project. This was something that started as a hypothesis years ago, GT, and you were there for it.
Mm-hmm.
You were there to see the seed planted, and now I have confirmation there will no longer be a single Batman project that doesn't at least hint, touch, reference, found Prince of Crime himself, the Joker. And I realized something in this moment. This would be an animated Joker not played by Mark Hamill.
Yes, it will.
I don't know if I'm ready for that. Not saying that we have multiple animated shows and movies that have come out since Batman the Animated Series, but I swear even in those, like 8 out of 10 of the time, it's still Mark Hamill. When I played the Arkham series, it was Mark Hamill. Even their little cameo on Crisis on Infinite Earths, it's Mark Hamill. I don't think this guy is named.
No, it is an uncredited actor.
But it's definitely a different voice.
Yes.
Less maniacal than others. Are you excited by the potential of this guy named the Joker to fight this guy named the Batman?
I would not use the word excited, but I am curious.
Yeah.
It is. I'm more forgiving of it in an animated series than I am in a movie, because whenever a Batman movie brings up the Joker, I just know that okay, these things take a long time to make, so it's gonna be 8 years before we see somebody not the Joker. And
it serves more of a hook, right? Like, come see the next one, Where I don't really feel like that from this. I feel like this had enough setup to want you to watch the next one. Oh, and by the way, Joker might be in it, or in some capacity or whatever.
I felt that weird tinge of just oh, we're doing this when the Joker pops up in the Batman. I was just like, okay, we're doing a Joker. Okay, sure.
The man is always around. Before we
I think it's just an I wouldn't use the word unfortunate. That's too much.
So it's just an inevitability.
It is an interesting inevitability, just in the sense that yet the two characters are so closely tethered together that you can't. The Batman just kind of cannot exist without the Joker around, and then most importantly, the other way, we make fun of it now constantly, the idea that there is a Venom that exists seemingly without the influence of the Spider-Man.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe this has to be.
I also want to start referring to him as the Spider-Man. I think that sounds pretty cool. It's the Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
I love that this show starts off with the most cliche conversation in Gotham history of oh, you believe that? Guy dressed like a bat? And I'm like, oh, just chicken soup with a soul. I know exactly what I'm eating today. This is very familiar.
And it even pays off with Oswaldo just going oh, so you are real.
Yeah, yep, 100%. Some random spitball questions for season 2 that I got for you. What characters do you see working in this in this universe as established? And are there any characters you think wouldn't if they didn't make changes to it? Do you think a Poison Ivy rocks in this universe?
Yes, in the same vein that I think old girl from Luke Cage worked.
Oh, Nightshade?
Yes.
more of like a small time botanist that's poisoning people with her not huge
Yeah.
vines erupting from Gotham.
No, but like just uses her botany and horticulture in a way that's like, damaging and a little like creepy, because like it's you don't need to really buy this stuff. It's kind of everywhere
100%. And in the 30s,
if
she
you
would have
know
been
what
a
you're
witch.
doing.
She would have been a witch in the
Yeah.
30s, bro. Like what?
Yeah, that's
She
very
mixed
true
two
too.
chemicals and she's she's a
It's
witch.
very true. I think I think Huntress works very easily.
I like
Huntress is so speed
Huntress.
level that it does, it's kind of easy to do.
Grundy.
Um, um, I want to say yes, mostly just because I saw Gotham get away with Grundy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I forgot about that. But also Grundy was in the OG animated series. So at least he has some precedent of being around in like that neo noir, Art Deco
Yes,
sort of
yeah,
environment.
but I
Um,
also think like because of I guess that's the interesting thing about this show in the sense that it has so many of those classic Batman the Animated Series touches
yeah.
that you just assume it comes with the Tim Burton of it all, but maybe it doesn't. I don't know. That's something I didn't consider until now.
Now that you also another thing you were just saying is, are we missing something from that Acadini in this? Dini's not a part of this, right?
Oh, he's not actually, is he? It's just
And I want to say Dini wrote Heart of Ice. that long extended S shows how much I believe that. That still blows my absolute mind that no one cared about this man's origin. Didn't even try to make one until they did Heart of Ice.
it is in fact written by Paul Dini.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think Dini had a little bit more of the because someone had asked me what I thought was the difference between like this and the other one, and I said like there's no whimsy in this, but maybe there's not meant to be because it's not a kids show. But like
Right.
I constantly think of the determined xylophone in in the Batman the Animated Series. Danny Elfman loved the xylophone, so they were like, we're just gonna constantly have a bunch of like xylophone horns, bombasticness to it, and this felt a little bit muted. Yeah, this one felt a little bit more muted. I'd say if you're not getting Brew Baker back, I say give Dini a call. Give Dini a call, see what this man has to do. So like we don't do. I say all this to say Dini did an amazing job doing Heart of Ice, and Heart of Ice effectively became and changed all that we know about Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
I challenge them to do something similar in the second season.
You said your favorite episode was Nocturna?
I want to say, if not, it was the Clayface one or the 2-part. I think that's in my head when I think of the good of the show. It's the 2-part Dent, Nocturna, and Clayface.
So a woman named Hallie Gross wrote Nocturna, and wrote The Stress of Her Regard.
That was pretty good.
Is most famous for is best known for writing 2 episodes of the HBO series Westworld, and co-writing the 2020 video game The Last of Us Part 2.
Interesting. There are some very prominent and powerful women in that, and those episodes that she wore were female centric. Female centric, so that's interesting as well. Speaking of female centric, one of the last questions I have: we know we are getting the Joker, eventually. Maybe not in season 2. Maybe just out there in the wings. Will that Joker ever meet this Harley? Do you want to see them meet? Should they meet, or is the twist like these guys hate each other?
If they did, I would probably. It's hard to say. Okay, in my head, and that's reaching because I'm creating an idea of who the Joker is to do so. I would rather them be contentious because they're like, "What are you doing, clown?" Like, fuck you, talking about clown?
Yeah.
Like they're both independent characters. I like them to sort of meet each other and remain staunch in their independence.
right?
And so like I imagine the two of them would be combative, or at least uh how do you say, in contempt of each
Yeah.
other to some degree. At the same time, yeah, I feel like I also need to know who this Joker is going to be before I have an idea of what to do to them. So preferably, I'd just rather them not meet at all.
Yeah, yeah, no, I can dig that as well. I find it interesting that the way that this Joker is portrayed, he's like, I mean, I wouldn't go so far saying that he's a scientist, but he's actively trying to like work
He's
on
testing
experiments.
experiments, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, like, what does that look like on the base level? Like, are we gonna get laughing fish and a big purple car? Maybe not. Maybe this is a way more subdued noir Joker, a serial killer, with just a
Yeah.
with a motif, a laughing motif or something.
Yeah, for all we know, it gets closer. For all we know, it gets closer to like Nicholson.
Yeah, yeah. Bad dance.
That dance, yes.
Bad dance indeed. But yeah, I think overall, if you haven't seen this series, I think it's worth giving it a shot. You just have to remember that it's not trying to be Batman the Animated Series, and you can really,
Even
really.
though it may sometimes look a lot like it.
It's hard. It's hard. The brain wants it to be something that you remember, but ultimately, I feel like they did a good job here. But I can't help but feel like they played it safe and for the best reasons. Make sure that no one got off the bus. And now that everyone's on the bus, you can lock the doors and drive this thing off a cliff.
Right.
I'm down to take some big chances, some big swings. The animated series not only means a lot to me because it was incredibly written and gorgeous, but for what it did for Batman lore moving forward. It wrote origins for people. It created characters, that are still here to this day. I want this to do the same.
Ones that have gotten feature films.
Yeah, yeah. I want this to do the same. So hopefully we will get there and we'll see that. I think coming soon we will be checking out the other side of this world, which would be My Adventures with Superman, which I imagine won't be as dark. I'm imagining won't be as dark as this.
So grim.
And eventually, I don't even think it's on the calendar, bro. We gotta finish up Soups and Loops, bro.
I was just thinking to myself, I have 2 Superman series to get on top of, and that's gonna be a lot for me.
I find Superman, I know it's a bit hard to binge.
It is, because it's a long hour.
It is, and not only that, but the B plot usually means nothing. Usually, kids in high school yelling about high school stuff, and I'm like, get back to Lois.
You're either uninterested in the B plot, or you have met the B plot with complete contempt.
Yes. And the kids may be honest. The B plot is Sarah. The B plot is whatever Sarah's doing.
But I don't think she's in this season.
I saw her in a clip. I don't know if
No.
in a clip, but obviously they're trying to save money, right? So she's not in every episode.
Right, right.
I saw her in a clip. My gosh. Anyway,
listen, I say this as a person who loves the show and has great things to say about Superman and Lois. They once spent an entire B plot about how nobody seems to pay attention to the small child sister, and then they considered they literally just stopped using her again.
Yeah, I saw a like someone was making fan posters for each episode that had already come out, and they had
some of those.
They had a fan poster of like the wedding that Beppo has with Kyle.
Okay,
and I'm like, oh, I know these people. Who the hell is that? It must be grown up Sophie. Like, because she was like 10 last time I saw her, and it's been like 3 years or whatever. So now she's like 15 or something like that.
Yes.
Time flies. Time definitely.
They barely ever used Sophie, and then they made an episode about how nobody pays attention to Sophie.
Yes.
And then they didn't use Sophie after it.
And then they made it a point to make her disappear all over again. But you guys aren't Sophies to us, though. We care about you guys. We will always care that you guys are doing well and making sure that you guys are here each and every week as part of Comic Book Clique. We do this as a labor of love. We're on episode 357. That means there's over 700 hours of content that exists as part of Comic Book Clique and major issues, and it all exists at ComicBookClique.com. It's a one-stop for everything Comic Book Clique, our articles, merchandise, and every single episode of the Major Issues podcast. Go back and check out some of the other stuff. We have an episode on Batman the Animated Series, several Batman films.
I feel like episode 365 needs to be a year one.
Oh yeah, right. I could dig that. We're closing in on 365, closing in on 400 in general, closing in on our
So many milestones.
yeah, man. Year 9, it will be next year for ComicBookClique. It's bonkers, bro. This is getting crazy. And we're getting
Yes.
bigger and brighter and better things to come. We have a whole slew of announcements coming for 2025. Some very exciting stuff coming to ComicBookClique as far as the content that we produce. But yeah, you guys can find us at facebook.com/ComicBookClique, Instagram at ComicBookClique, or use the hashtag ComicBookClique to talk about the latest, hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. The Major Issues podcast is available wherever podcasts are found: Podbean, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, the Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcast apps. Soon find YouTube, Spotify, and more. We do these sporadically, these Major Issues live recordings, but the audio version of this episode will be out on Thursday, and then this video will be out on our YouTube on Friday. So make sure that you are following us wherever you can. There's many ways you can help support us. You can help us by giving us money straight up at patreon.com/CBC Clubhouse for as little as 10 cents a day, $3 a month. You can help us afford the lights on. Help us keep the lights on here and afford the hardware and the software we need. Keep providing you guys content free of charge. We have the Major Issues podcast that comes out every week. We have major previews that comes out every month. And we're trying to do the most over here to keep providing you guys content for comic books and comic book media.
And didn't you just debut a new show?
Yes, previews. Yes, major preview. That's our once a month show where we talk about the solicitations. We're getting better at clipping the podcast.
I saw a major builds.
Oh yes, major builds. Well, that was that's our prototype pilot. We have major builds. We're gonna start buying and assembling geek Legos while talking about the geekdom that fostered our love for them. So there is actually, if you go to our facebook.com/comicbookclique, you can go to our videos there, and you have our first episode of Major Builds where we talk about Batman the Animated Series for 3 hours without barely building majority of what it was actually took to build. But we did our best. Again, pilot episode. But yeah, we're talking major builds. We're talking major issues. We're talking major previews. Eventually, major interviews. Things are coming. And you guys go on to get on the bandwagon before the bandwagon gets full. We do a lot over here at ComicBookClique, and we do even more at ComicBookClique.com. But the best thing about ComicBookClique.com is we got some noisy neighbors next door over at ComicBookClique.com. The guys over on the other side, DirtSheet Radio, they keep making noise, and it's the best noise because it comes from the world of pop culture and professional wrestling, and those guys are killing it each and every day with immediately following what we're doing right now. There will be an AEW Dynamite live post show. There's a post show every single day. Turn on the DirtSheet Radio. There's always something playing. Those guys work so hard, tirelessly, if you will, to talk about the latest and greatest to come to pop culture and professional wrestling. It's a match made in heaven. Ever since we met those guys and we've really joined forces, we've both seen increase in our audience. So thank you guys. If you are from DirtSheet Radio fans and you guys are checking this out for the very first time, and vice versa, if you're a comic book click guy, go ahead and check out what they're doing over there on DirtSheet Radio because it's absolutely incredible. I love what's going on over there with those guys. And yeah, we owe them so much. We've just hit 40,000 followers on Facebook. We started this year with 90. Give you a little bit of a idea. We've more than doubled our numbers thanks to the guys over there at DirtSheet Radio, and thanks to everyone who has been following us all over Facebook.com/ComicBookClique, Instagram again at ComicBookClique, and using that hashtag. And like I said, DirtSheet Radio, ComicBookClique, we do become the latest and greatest things in our respective fields, but I can't tell you how we do it because it'll mess up the timeline. The next thing you know, not Granny's peach tea that's sitting on that desk. It's one of Dwayne Johnson's post gym water bottles, and nobody wants that.
He's still getting it. It just still hasn't.
I'll never forgive you, Dwayne. Never. I don't care how good Red One is. You hear me?
Well, I guess you won't have to worry about that.
Why is he wearing a muscle suit for? Anyway, we'll get we'll get there when we gotta get there. We got other places we're going. We're going to the moon. So make sure you're following us. Get on the bandwagon before the bandwagon gets full, because then there'll be too many people and I can't hear you all the way in the back. Join us, follow us, be with us, and join us next week for a new episode of the Major Issues Podcast. But nothing else left to say, but my name is George Serrano, aka The Don.
I'm Gregory Thomas, aka GT Rebirth.
And this has been our Batman, the Caped Crusader recap and review. And remember, whether you're a bat, whether you're a ghost, or whether you're just some weird gender swap penguin, remember that we are the Clique. And always remember that you, yes, you, are worthy.